my name is Jenna. Today I'm here doing my January wrap-up and my February TBR. In January I managed to read 6 books, which I'm pretty happy with, but the majority of them were not on my TBR, so you know, read a lot of books, read lots of books that weren't on my TBR, so I'm doing well. Also this month I decided to participate in the Read Yo Shelves readathon. It is a month-long readathon that ran for the month of January. I have no idea who created it, but I found it through Kat from the channel Brews and Reviews. I will leave her video down below so you can go and check that one out. But basically it was like kind of like a bingo card, and I did alright. I did get a bingo, so I'm pretty happy with that. I read 1, 2, 3, 4 books that counted for this apparently. Technically I read 5 books, I just didn't continue. Not that it matters because I wouldn't have gotten another bingo anyway. But so 4 of the books that I read this month did go on here, so I did manage to get a bingo here. I'm pretty happy with that. We'll talk more about it when I get to the actual books though. So the first book that I read in the month of January was Steel Tide by Natalie C. Parker. This is the sequel to Seafire. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. This follows the adventure of Caledonia and her crew of badass females as they battle to defeat an evil on the seas. It's a pirate book, it's badass, it's fantastic, and this one gave us a real insight into Caledonia and gave us more conflict and introduced us a little bit more to the world, and has also really set it up for a fantastic final book in the series. I don't know when that one's coming out. I'm really hoping it's coming out this year because this one was a last year release. Fingers crossed it comes out in 2020 because I really would like to know what happens with Caledonia and her crew. So for the Read Your Shelves thing, Steel Tide counted as a sequel, bought new 2019 release, and as a hardcover. So I got 4 bingos for that. I wasn't gonna try to read like a book per bingo tile because there are 25 bingo tiles on here and no one has time to read 25 books in January. Unless you are insane and can read a book a day, which I cannot. The second book that I read in January was one that I read for my 48-ish hour readathon. That was Fireburn Island by Ash Oldfield. I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars. I did not think it was a particularly well written book, but I did talk about it more in my 48-ish hour readathon, so I will just leave a link to that vlog in the description box below if you want to hear more of my in-depth thoughts on this book. Fireburn Island completed 5 of these, so it got Been Meaning to Read because I've been meaning to read it for like 3 years, Free Space, New to You author, paperback, and Bought on Vacation because I bought it when I was in Melbourne for Supernova, so we're doing well. The third book that I read this month was Void Black Shadow by Corey J. White. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. This book I also read for the readathon, 48-ish hour readathon vlog thing that I did. I did not finish this book during that time though, so I will talk about it a little bit here. This is the sequel to Killing Gravity. It is a science fiction novel about a girl called Mars Z. You can see how I get confused. And she is a void witch, which basically means she can move shit with her mind, and it's kind of awesome. This book, violent as hell. As in, the body count is so big I wouldn't even be able to tell you because I'm pretty sure it's in the hundreds. Kind of love that about this. It's a really short novel though. It's definitely just a little novella, so you do kind of have to read it all at once. I also didn't quite remember everything that happened in Killing Gravity, and they didn't explain everything very well in the beginning of this book, so I kind of went into it half blind, but it was a lot of fun. Mars is awesome. All the characters are awesome. Everything that was happening was dark and twisted, and it's a real violent and dark sci-fi if you're into that kind of thing. So that got 2 squares. That was diverse and create your own category, and it is diverse because one of the characters in this book is actually non-binary, which is pretty awesome. I kind of love that. And create your own category was sci-fi. The fourth book that I read this month was the book that I read for my TBR jar challenge, which was to read a book written by 2 authors. That was These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I read it on audiobook, which I would honestly super recommend. The audiobook was fantastic. This is a dual narration novel, so it's told in the point of view of Lilac and Tava. So in the audiobook, we had someone voicing Lilac, someone voicing Tava, and someone voicing this other random guy, which took me a minute to figure out what was going on there, but I really enjoyed it. The audiobook was, can you stop? I really enjoyed it. The audiobook was fantastic. It was definitely very heavy on the romance and less-ish on the sci-fi mystery aspect, but I was kind of expecting that coming from Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I do know this is more of a romance novel set in space rather than a proper science fiction, but I really did enjoy it. I loved the mystery, and I am actually really keen to pick up the rest of the series now. And then the 5th book that I read this month was actually a short story, and that was This Night So Dark by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I give this one a 3 out of 5 stars. This is the little bridge bridge short story between These Broken Stars and This Shattered World, which is the second in the Starbound trilogy. It was a cute little story, but ultimately it was completely pointless, and I'm really glad I didn't pay any money for it. And then the sixth book that I read this month was both a reread and was the YA Circles Book Club book pick of the month, and that was A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Camara. I give this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I love this book. I think it is a fantastic Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's just a fantastic fantasy all around. The characters are really well fleshed out, and you really get to dive deep into their psyche and to find out exactly what it is they are thinking. Our main character Harper has cerebral palsy, and one of the coolest things about her is she does not let that define who she is, but she also knows that she has limitations. So when she's doing things like she's learning how to sword fight, or she's learning to throw knives, do archery, she sort of says to her instructors, I'm gonna have this for the rest of my life. You need to teach me how to work around it because it's never gonna go away. And I love that. I love that she was so self-aware of it, but it didn't stop her from doing all of the things she wanted to do and from becoming really badass. And she is a fantastic main character. Ren is fantastic as well, and I am so excited for the sequel because the ending of this book is just like, how and why? And then A Curse So Dark and Lonely is the book that got me my bingo. I couldn't think of the word there. That was my reread and my fantastic title, so I got a bingo, which means I won the Read Your Shelves readathon, woohoo! And funnily, and all of the books that I read were books that were all already on my TBR. I didn't add them except for the little short story, but that was like 60 pages, so I think I'm okay. So there you go, those were the 6 books that I read in January, and now we will move straight on to the books I am planning on reading in February. First and foremost, we're gonna get the TBR jar challenge out of the way. This is either gonna be I have to read a new book, or it's gonna be one that's already on my TBR, which is gonna be awesome. Alrighty, my TBR jar challenge is a science fiction. Awesome, there are plenty of science fiction novels on my TBR for this month. I have 5 books on my TBR for February. I'm really trying to start the year off strong, just in case I run into problems like I did last year where I literally had a month where I didn't read a single thing. I'm hoping that doesn't happen again this year. Plus, I want to get my physical TBR down as much as I possibly can. In saying that, though, 2 of the books that are currently on my TBR for February I don't own, but everything's fine. They're new releases and I really want to read them. So first up, the YA Circles book of the month for February is Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. I think it's a fantasy. I don't really know, but I want to read this one this month because, like I said in my goals video, which should be up before this one, but I'm actually not entirely sure. So if it's not, spoiler alert, one of my goals for this year is that I really want to read all 12 of the YA Circle books. So I have to read Infinity Sun in order to make that happen. And I've read one of Adam's books before and I didn't love it, but this one's a fantasy, so I feel like I feel I might like it more than the one that I did before. Next up on my TBR, we have A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Camara. This is the sequel to A Curse So Dark and Lonely. I wanted to read this one before the YA Circle meeting that we had last month because we actually got to Skype with the author, which was really awesome, but unfortunately Book Depository did a weird thing and so I didn't get the book. It's meant to be received in like 5 to 8 days. It was not. It took like 20 days to get to me, but it's fine and I'm over it. I'm really excited to read this one. I believe it's told from the point of view of Harper and Gray, I think. Not really sure, but I am excited to dive into it because everybody who has read this one and has talked to me about it has said it's fantastic and I just want to be in on the hype, guys. The next book I have on my TBR is Supernova by Cass Morgan. This is the sequel to Light Years and might be the final book in the duology, but I actually don't know if it was only a duology or if it's a trilogy. I literally can't find anything about it online and I'm just kind of hoping that when I finish the book it will tell me. I'm hoping it'll either be like a really definitive solid ending or it'll be a cliffhanger ending and I'll go, ah, okay, there's a sequel. So Light Years follows 4 students up on a space academy and basically shit happens and bad things happen by the end of the book. So this book is all about them dealing with the consequences of that and I'm really excited. I haven't exactly read Light Years for a very long time, as in it's been over a year, so not entirely sure what happened in that book, but everything is gonna be fine, I'm sure. The next book on my TBR for this month is Spellhacker by MK England. This is another standalone, so she wrote The Disasters and now this is another standalone. It's less sci-fi, more fantasy-esque. There is magic. Magic is used as currency in this world and so they have to kind of hack into the currency and sort of make things fair. I believe that's what happens, not entirely sure. Either way, I absolutely loved The Disasters. I thought it was a fantastic book and I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing what happens in Spellhacker. I have had a friend who's read it and she said it's very, very different and sort of different in tone and different in everything. So I'm a little worried that I'm not gonna like it, but I'm fairly confident that I think I will. And then the last book that I have on my TBR for February is This Shattered World by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This is the sequel to These Broken Stars and is the second book in the Starbound trilogy. This one again follows a different set of characters. This one follows we're on a planet that has been, well, it's in the process of being terraformed, but something has happened and it's stopped that. So we meet a girl who is a soldier and a boy who is a rebel, and they sort of end up together when he kidnaps her from a bar, you know, as you do. And I think from there they sort of start to uncover this bigger mystery and they end up working together. I think, not 100% sure. Either way, this one sounds really awesome and I am keen to read it. I'm definitely gonna read this one on audiobook because I absolutely loved the first one on audiobook, and I think the audiobooks for these ones are probably the way to go. And there we go, those are all of the books that I currently have on my February TBR. That might change because obviously there were a lot of books on my January TBR that I didn't get to, but I am hoping I can mostly read physical books. I think I've got, I guess not. Of the 5 books I have on my TBR, only 2 of them are owned books that I'm gonna try to get rid of. So, you know, doing well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section below what you are planning on reading in February and what you read in January, because I would absolutely love to know. If you like this video, be sure to give it a huge thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Stay random. Bye.